Quantum physics, quantum worldview says creativity is the first thing. The unknown is the only way to go because that's where humanness prevails.
Hmm.
Humanness is about creativity. The rest of it is our machine nature, which is part of it. We need that to express creativity. Indeed, if we didn't have the proper matrix to express creativity, then also we would not be quite um, human being because we need expression. So that is fine. Both can exist. But ultimately, we covet creativity most. Why? Because in creative experience, the humanness becomes so alive. We feel so special. And why should we deny that experience to bulk of humanity? What
Yeah.
is happening now is that by maintaining elitism, the creative people now can create a special elite group for themselves, which they have.
Hmm.
But they limit their creativity by inventing belief systems like scientific materialism. I'm
Mm.
not saying scientific materialists are not creative. You see the irony of it, though. Because of their belief system, they express the creativity within a select group. If you notice, in America, this select group is very, very select.
Hmm.
And you can tell, if you watch TV interview shows, same people are appearing on the interview. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys are exceptions. You are in the fringe. But the mainstream, take Jon Stewart, for example,
Hmm.
or those guys, in fact,
Yeah. Yeah.
Fox News, or the guys that PBS even,
Right.
if PBS, Charlie Rose. I mean, their guests are all the same faces coming every time they write a book. They come back on their shows and they publicize their book.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when only select groups are allowed, only the Christians or the scientific materialists, but nobody which says things which are different, you know, is allowed. Now,
Yeah.
Oprah used to be a little bit different. Oprah
Yeah.
made Deepak Chopra, for example,
Yeah.
famous, and a few others.
Yeah.
So she used to be a little bit different, but then she's gone now from television. So
Yeah.
not gone, but
Yeah.
more or
She has
less.
her own. Yeah, on the fringes. She's now more fringy, like me.
Right.
Okay, so I want to ask a question, a follow-on question, because I want to talk about artificial intelligence and consciousness. I had Deepak Chopra on the show, and I was asking him these same questions, which is, what is if consciousness is awareness at all levels? Like you talk about this in your book. You have like a physical sense, felt sense, you have like an intuitive felt sense, there's this conscious, this awareness that you exist. Okay. Now, if you say that that's generally what consciousness is, could a computer have consciousness? Because I'm seeing more and more things that computing is doing that I start thinking, well, actually, computing can have a certain level of consciousness. What do you think?
Well, not this is the mistake that one makes in a natural way, because consciousness is made into an object in scientific materialism.
Hmm.
Consciousness is not something to have;
Yeah.
it's something to be.
Ah, okay.
So the material stuff is not allowed to have that being from the get-go. It's not possible to have the being because the to get conscious awareness in quantum physics, you need a system that is called a tangled hierarchy.
Hmm.
Tangled hierarchy meaning two levels making up each other.
Hmm.
But how do you make two levels making up each other in the laboratory? Because in laboratory you only know how to make levels after level after level after level after level in this way, in
Hmm.
going bottom up.
Right.
We don't know any other way. We
Hmm.
don't know how to make a tangled hierarchical where two levels make each other. We don't know that. We cannot make that into laboratory. We find this in life. Life has the same problem. If you take any living object, DNA and protein, it takes DNA to make protein, but it also takes protein to make DNA. So you can never make in the laboratory the DNA protein combination. You
Hmm.
cannot just do it. It's impossible to do it.
Okay, so it's impossible to create consciousness. So I think I'm interpreting as it's impossible to have for a machine to have consciousness because the machine can't be in a state of being because only human beings can be in a state of being.
And
Be-
human beings can be in the state of being because, quote unquote, that quantum consciousness, if you want to call it God, I don't hesitate.
right,
Many people can have sensitivity, so please call it quantum consciousness.
right,
You're sensitive.
right.
I don't want to offend you, but quantum consciousness can do the impossible.
So why
It's
isn't it possible
possible that
that
happens is that is the act of creativity where impossible can happen. But this impossible act cannot be done by human beings in the laboratory. In the laboratory are limited to do it only simple hierarchical system, one by one, elementary particles, making atoms, making molecules, making more complicated molecular objects, making bulk objects, and all that is just.
okay, okay, so here's an example of a real thing that my husband just told me about. He's writing an article on the League of Legends, which is a computer game where a lot of teenagers play these computer games, and my son logged my 14-year-old logged off of this, and he said one of these computer games, not League of Legends, but another one, and he's like, I'm in a world of hatred. And it's because people are playing these games, and because there's no face to face communication, there's a sense of even more separateness than we actually have already on online, and people are just saying the most obnoxious, awful things to each other. And so as a result, League of Legends actually created a tribunal who reviewed a set of like people who had these infractions and started actually reviewing like thousands. I think it was maybe my husband said 10,000. I'm probably quoting as misquoting and in all sorts of ways, but the general idea is they had a tribunal of human beings who then reviewed 10,000 cases. And then through the 10,000 cases, there could be an algorithm that was developed on the community standards that should be followed in League of Legends. So that when someone types in, you're a noob, which is a criticism, a little thing will flash up and say, please note that you are actually, in violation of community standards and ethics. Please refrain from using this word. And or if someone does an infraction, like they do something in the game that's considered illegal, they will be banned automatically by this computer so that no longer is there any human interaction involved because the computer, after looking at thousands and thousands of these entries, can algorithmically now make decisions on the behalf of other humans, which is on the one hand fantastic because, it's not a world of hatred anymore, but on the other hand, scary because we have, and I think this is the part that you're talking about because my husband and I were like, I don't get it. So you have human beings who are programming who are the data that the computer is then creating algorithms for, which are then affecting other human beings. But a machine is making a decision based on other human behavior. So I'm not sure what to think, but I'm like, that's a level of consciousness, sort of. What do you think of this whole? Does that scenario make sense to you? Did I describe it okay that you get it?
What you're saying is completely okay. I mean, it is good. And I'll give you this, that yes, they have in this kind of process, but it is in my book. I already have said the computer have this power too.
Yeah.
This is the power of the ego. Not all the power of the ego, but some of the power of the ego. What we call our ego's free will. That free will is choosing among conditioned alternatives. You have a conditioned series of alternatives. Some you like better than others. And most human beings call that freedom. It's freedom to choose the flavor of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
You may like vanilla, I may like chocolate. And sometimes we even fight about whose flavor to buy in the supermarket if you and I are close. But the point is that ultimately, is this all there is to human freedom? Right?
That's a really good question. Yes, that's
But to
the
ask
ultimate
that
question.
you have the answer of why computer can never be human being, although computer is emulating good part of what we do with our ego self. Yes,
Yes.
what a human ego do. We fight about whose God is right.
Right.
Hindu God or the Jewish God or the Christian God.
Right.
Whose prophet is right. We fight about those things. Whose ice cream is right. It's the same kind of thing.
Right.
But there is something beyond that. That is the aspect of creativity. Creativity is something, what is it? It's going out of the system entirely. You are not choosing among any alternative that you have ever encountered. Those words that computer decide about, that computer now can choose and forbid you to use, but computer will never find out something that is not a word. Suppose something else is very offensive, a human expression or something, which you did not give the computer.
Right.
If you give it to the computer again can compute what expressions to eliminate, what expression is allowed in the civilized society and what expression is not. But you have to give it to the computer.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. But
Yes.
creativity is something that comes to us, and nobody ever gave anything like this to us. Ever. Nobody gave anything like this to us ever. And it still comes to us. How
Yes.
does it do it? Because we live in also another domain of reality, that domain of potentiality, where there are new potentialities which have never been manifested. That's how they come to us, through intuition first and then creativity.
And so do you think
That
it's
machine can never do.
so do you think that it's because we're living that we actually have this connection? Do all living things have this connection?
We are privileged to this other domain of reality, and however you do with the computer, they're forced to live in that one domain of reality.
Right, because they're not living, and therefore they can only replicate the egoic mind, which are like
And only
algorithms.
replicate the egoic mind.
Yeah. Wow. That just blew me away. I love that answer.
But still, this is tremendous. No, I am the first one to congratulate artificial intelligence researchers, and I'm convinced that in quantum economics, I spent a lot of pages talking about robotization and how human beings are going to lose every ego job sooner or later. If
Yeah.
we don't wake up and start talking about expanding the economy towards human things, namely to vital energies, mental meaning, and spiritual values, we are doomed in terms of what shall we do? There will be nothing to do.
Right. Pretty
We
soon, all
cannot
of
just
our
go
jobs are going to be.
manufacturing ice cream because ice cream will be manufactured by robots. No question about it. Even cars will be driven by robots.
Yeah, I know. There's pretty
It's
soon.
even
Yeah, pretty soon. That's a really good. So I read that part in your book and I didn't get it, but what you're saying is pretty soon artificial intelligence will take over most of what we do as human beings. So, what is our work going to be if we are no longer like I can't go and monitor a chat because a computer is doing it. I can't, be an accountant because a computer is doing my job. A doctor is being replaced by a robot. What is our role in that
exactly
particular
anything
case?
that is mechanical, like most of surgery, most of medicine, most of psychology and psychiatry. Not all of it. All of it is in the transpersonal area. All of it is in the deep psychology area. Those things computers cannot emulate. Computers can never understand the concept of the unconscious. They
Hmm.
can never understand feelings because feelings have to do with vital energy. They cannot have that access to that. Vital energy is not computable. So there are exclusion of the humanness, and that's where we have to focus. And we have to find human beings to understand and explore. We already have the knowledge. We have to find entrepreneurs to start producing economic products in this arena, and then people will become acclimatized. Today, people don't live in their body anymore. As you said, when they're playing computer games, it's all in the brain.
Yeah,
Body is not involved, and they have to involve the body again. They have to feel these energies that we call vital energy.
right.
And when they do that, they find, this is something that we can never be mechanical about.
I know. That's the ultimate irony, isn't it? We're developing machines that are becoming and making us more machine-like, less human. I mean, it's just the whole thing is boggling to me. It really is because I look at my children. I'm like, you are soon becoming cyber children. Because they're so because the technology that humans are creating humans that are more machine-like than they are human. It's just I don't know. I don't know what kind of world we're living in, but I do think that, and I would love to have, because now I get it. This is such a deep and profound book. It takes a while. Like I think you have to read this book 2 or 3 times, and you're like, aha, I got something that I didn't get when I was reading the book. I get it now, which is that we better start figuring out what our purpose is as human beings. Because if you look at the technology curve, pretty soon there is no purpose
And,
aside from these vital energies and the things that you're mentioning.
and the good news, CJ, is that there is nothing to be disheartened about. The robots are welcome to take over that part of the job. That part of the job is boring. Let's face it. Let's
Yes.
admit it. It's really no fun. I mean, serving food in a fast food joint becomes fun only if you are a man and beautiful girls come there and eat and you look at them. That then it becomes a little bit fun.
Right.
But making hamburgers the same way and flipping them over and then serving them, putting them in a bag, and it's no fun.
Right. Well,
And we should give up such jobs. Let robots do it.
yeah, we actually have we will soon have the disposable time to be enlightened if we just let go of wanting to having to have if we understand that this is the direction that we're going, right? I mean, this is the great thing that why did we involve and create technology in the first place, right? To make us more productive so that we wouldn't have to do tedious work.
Tedious work. That was the original idea, and then we
Yeah.
found that no, we have to use people still, and we have been using people for such menial jobs for a long time. Assembly lines, etc., were created, but now most of assembly line job is being done by the robots, and absolutely fantastic. We should welcome robots to do this kind of
Yeah.
thing, so that we are really free to explore meaning, feeling, and spiritual values.
Right. Which we want to do all along, but we're too afraid to do, I think.
No, I think what happened also, don't forget scientific materialism. Scientific materialism bamboozled us into saying that, look, you are what you are limited, you are a machine, so what are you talking about? You have to compete with the machines and you will lose.
Right.
That's what we are talking about.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
why, movies like Planet of the Apes, and they're still popular. I noticed that they are sequels now, and they're
Yeah.
continuing to make that. And this is why robots have taken over, gradually taking over television, where they're literally uh, promoting the idea that, look, robots are going to take over, and we are going to be secondary citizens, if not destroyed completely.
Right.
These ideas, why do these ideas become so popular? Why do people watch these ideas and look at their own doomsday and the glory of robots on the TV? Because they have this fear.
Right,
And
because we're programmed.
enjoy that fear.
Yeah, because we're programmed to be like the machines, so they feel competitive versus collaborative, as in giving us opportunities. Wow, that's okay. Like you're just blowing my brain into 1,000 pieces. We have Dr. Amit Goswami, who is a retired professor of theoretical physics, the author of many books, including this one, Quantum Economics, Unleashing the Power of an Economics of Consciousness. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.